All right, if we could get everyone's attention, we're going to go ahead and get started so we can get out here as soon as possible. If you don't know, my name is Ryan Lynch. I'm the county clerk here in Clark County. I just want to start off by saying how much we appreciate you all coming out tonight and being a part of this process in Clark County. We feel strongly about the process, and we really appreciate you guys being a part of that as well. Without people like you guys, we wouldn't be able to have the process that we do here in the county. So we do thank you. Again, my name is Ryan. This is Angela. She's going to be running the show today, so if you don't mind giving her your undivided attention, and we will get you out of here as soon as possible.
All right. So, like I said, my name's Angela. I always like to start off with how many new people do I have? Okay, so there's.
New judge.
Okay, I was like, you're not new, but okay, new to judge. Okay, there we go. Well, that's good. So, just so all the new people that raise their hands know, all these people started new too one time, so don't worry, okay? Because everybody's always worried. So I try to reassure that most, or if not all, the polling locations do help out in whatever needs to be done. It just everybody has a position and kind of has some things to keep up with what they do. So we'll start with the PowerPoint. And if you have any questions while we're going through stuff, just raise your hand and I'll answer them as we go. I ask if you do have to make or take a phone call, that's fine. Just step out so we don't get disturbed from the phone call. First off, we have supply boxes. That's going to be with your I voted stickers, pins, red and black, paper clips, rubber bands, a magnifying sheet, blank paper, just small little scrap pieces of paper if you need to jot something down. Tape for hanging up signage kits, letter opener, poll pad tape, excuse slips, and scissors. So if any of that, the inspector will have that in their supply box for you. Next, we have the signage kit, which the inspectors will be picking up, but we ask usually the judges and the clerks to help put those signs up on Monday night, whoever's there Monday night to help set up. If you're a Democrat judge, go ahead and get those out of the way so you don't have to do them Tuesday morning. Just kind of gets that out of the way. And then on to the poll booths. Each blue little case has 2 poll booths in it. So it breaks when you open it up, it has the top, a divider, and it has 8 legs, 4 for each booth. So that's how many, and it varies. I kind of have a set amount that I send out depending on how many voters or if there's tables there or whatever, because we only have a set number of booths, and I send them all out on election day. There's not one of them back at the courthouse that day. You will take those down at the end of the night on Tuesday night as a judge or a clerk or whoever can help all do that. On to poll pads, that's something we changed train the clerks on is how to assemble and put up the poll pad. It does have instructions inside the poll pad case. In case you get doing it, there is instructions inside the poll pad case to set that up. They are to remain sealed until election day. So on Monday night, when you go to set up as a Democrat, if you're a Democrat judge, you just want to set up a table or tables for however many poll pads you have, and make sure there's a power source to get to them. But you will not plug those up because they'll stay there. They need to stay sealed so nobody can get in there and check themselves in per se. Not that would probably happen. They'd have to figure out a lot of stuff to get there, but just so that it stays secure. There is hot spots, or I call Wi-Fi's.
Mm-hmm. Sorry.
Yes.
No, who's in charge of picking up the poll pads?
The inspectors. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Yes, inspectors. They pick up all the folders and the poll pads, and the machine and the booths are delivered by us a few days before the election.
Mm-hmm.
Each place. Do I have anybody that's from New Wash or from Hibernia? I know one Hibernia said you'll have the Cradle Point for your internet. And then is anybody from New Wash? Okay, well, they have one too. So theirs is a little bit different than everybody else's, a little pack, jet pack. I think I'm gonna send that one there because of what she said last night during training. The next one is the poll pad reference gallery, so it kind of tells you where the poll pad is located in the box and such. Everything comes out of there for if it were to be assembled. Shows you where the check-ins are, so when they plug that iPad up, it should say 0 first thing in that morning, but that the check-ins is there in the middle of the screen. And then there's a printer icon and a cloud. The cloud is something that the office may reach out to whoever we can get a hold of to make sure that that cloud stays green. Now it could turn red due to the internet connection, which is fine. Voters can still be checked in. It's just not sending it back to us to show how many people has been checked in. And after a while, when we get a moment to check that, we may reach out and say, hey, can you try to sync up? You know, are you busy or anything? And if you're having trouble syncing up and there's nobody there that can, you know, get it to sync up, that's fine. We have people at the courthouse that will come out and help get that synced back up so all the voters will be checked in. But it will let them vote. You'll be fine. And we stay on top of that. And the next one's the poll pad icons. It's a little bit closer. The green printer connection, you pretty much, it's Bluetooth. So when you plug it up, as long as the power's on, it automatically connects to the poll pad. And that'll turn green. Then you have a sync status. That's the cloud, the little cloud that will call and say, is your cloud green? And then you shows where your internet connection and the battery percentage. Most of the poll pads will have to stay plugged in, so they all have a charger and kind of usually have to stay plugged in if you've ever dealt with the poll pads and the battery life of them. Okay, next is the auto marks, which is our ballot marking devices. They're for the ADA. They make the ballot bigger. They mark the ballot for a disabled voter. They'll even have headphones and be able to read the ballot off to them if they need that. So each location has one of those. And that has to be put out and turned on. It's not a coat rack. It's not a blanket holder. Because we have a HAVA is checking to make sure that we have those out for the disabled voters. Maybe you work at a polling location, you've never seen anybody touch it, but it's got to be turned on and it's got to be out. So, and they're heavy, so it may take a team to lift it up. Black pouches. The inspector will have all this, but this is what your black pouch looks like. These are very important. These have to come back with the Democrat judge and then the inspector. This will have your memory stick in it and your results tape that we will be looking for to get the results of the election. But in here now is name tags, envelope seals, green seals for the bag to be secured, and the red security tags for the ballot bag, and we'll explain those here in a minute. And the machine keys are in here also to get the machine open. Like I said, the inspector picks up all this, but just if you're the Democrat judge, make sure we have this handy and out. Do not put it in your voted ballots and lock it up, and we have to open it up at that night. This should be very handy and one of those things you hand to us first thing when you pull up if you're a Democrat judge. Next is the seals. This kind of breaks down what seals are in here. The red ones are for the ballot bags, and they lock it up so it can't be zipped up during transportation. The green seal is for this black pouch so that it stays zipped up while in transportation back to the courthouse. And then you got the paper seals that are for the envelopes, and we'll go into that in a little bit. I'll repeat this again, I know, but if an envelope is empty that's inside here, if this stays empty per se and nothing goes in here, we do not have to seal this up. So we won't seal it. So if you could, as a Democrat judge, remind them of that. The Republican judges shouldn't be involved in that process that much. So I just help each other out. The inspectors do get told that also. Next, we have the ballot bags. This is our second year with these. They fit in the bottom of the DS-200 where the ballots are entered to be voted. When you first get there to check them on Monday night as a Democrat judge, the ballots will be inside this black bag. You will check to make sure that you have all the ballots for your precinct, like say Chaz 4, 6, and 7. We want to make sure we have all Chaz 4, 6, and 7, and we don't have a Jeff 1. We don't need a Jeff 1 at that 4-H center. They can't vote. So if you get in there and you have the wrong ballots, call the office so we can get that taken care of on Monday night. But then after Monday, you'll put those back in after verifying that those are the correct ballots, and they'll stay there until Tuesday morning, and then Tuesday morning you'll pull them out and put them on your ballot table or wherever the ballots will be given out.
Angela, you said call the office.
If you don't have a ballot for a precinct,
Or for anything, what is that number?
285-812-285-6329, and they're all on the back here.
Okay, I'm just
No, you're good, but they're all in
making
here.
sure.
No, you're good. Let's see. All right, and then on Tuesday morning, once you unload that bag will go back in there because it'll catch all the voted ballots for the end of the night. Oh, you're good. Now back to the DS-200 machines. These are the tabulating machines. I'm sure everybody has seen these. The inspector will be in charge. They have the instructions to turn them on. They'll plug them up Tuesday morning. They will not be plugged up Monday night. But just get it to where it's by an outlet so you kind of have a game plan of where it's going to be plugged up. So Tuesday morning you're not running around trying to find a plug for the machines. We do send out extension cords and power strips. But Monday night when you set up, if you figure out that you need more, call the office. We can get some out to you that night or that first thing Tuesday morning to get you started. That's why we stress to set up on Monday night. In case something like that does happen, we have time to get stuff out to people. You also see the instructions on to put the red tab in the ballot bag. Those are instructions. They're also in the inspector binder that they get to. If you're not able to figure out how to clip that in there. Onto the top of the DS-200 machine, the card goes. It'll be in any of these slots. I think he usually puts it in B, but if it's in C, it's fine. It's not, you don't have to check on what slot as long as there's a card. And the inspector will power up the machines. Is anybody here from River Valley or Renaissance Academy? Are you at Renaissance? You'll be a Republican judge, but I'll go ahead and say it. As those two places have two machines, so they'll have two cards to come back, and on the machine it says shut down first and shut down second. So they'll pull the number 1 card and then do the number 2 card, and it's got a big sticker on the front of it. But they'll be told that also. But more people that know, the better off. But they do have to return both sticks because we've had to go back to the Renaissance Academy the first time that we ever did it and get that second stick before we could close all the results that night. Okay, before Monday night helps us make early Tuesday morning less stressful by identifying any issues with machines, ballots, and etc. that your polling location might have. It is important that this happens to ensure your polling location can open on time and start long day with a good start. Inspectors will contact the location master or the polling location key master and their Democrat judge. We also ask that the inspectors call all of their workers just to assure that that worker will be there on election day and just to make contact with each other in case something, they just make contact with them. On Monday night, the inspector and the Democrat judge has to be there, or at least a Democrat clerk. They may ask if you want to come, and that's fine. Some groups have worked together and they all come Monday night to make it a faster process, but you're not required unless you're an inspector or a Democrat judge. We ask them to, as soon as they get it, first time that they will have their list will be Saturday, but if they don't pick their their supplies up on Saturday, it may be Monday. And usually if they don't pick up their supplies on Saturdays, I try to text them their contact information so they can at least make contact with their poll workers. I know if you're at any of the Greater Clark schools as a Democrat judge, we will have to know, the inspector will have to know a time because they are very timely, very strict with the schedules that we can get in to set up for Monday night. So I talked with the inspectors, and just so if you're at that one, just be prepared that we will work something out. We'll figure it out, but if you're able to get there at those times, because they only give us a 15-minute window to get in the building, and then you'll have time to set up, but you have to be there within a 15-minute time frame. So Monday setup, the Democrat judges and the inspectors are responsible for setting a time to meet at the location before Election Day. Obviously, they check the ballots. I've said that before. Make sure that if you have multiple precincts, most places have multiple precincts. There's just 3 or 4 that have one precinct. So this time, each precinct will have 2 ballots, a Democrat ballot and a Republican ballot. There's no other splits. It's just, so if you have 3 precincts, you have 6 ballots. If you have 6 precincts, you'll have 12 ballots. So it's kind of an easier election this time as far as that goes. Obviously, we said post the signage kit, set up the poll booths, and move the machines to their positions, but do not plug them in. And after this is done, either the Democrat judge or the inspector can call Piper to tell them that they are completed setting up and they're good to go. They don't need anything. There's nothing that's needed for them. And once you can contact Piper and receive confirmation to leave, just secure the location. And come election day morning, getting the polls ready. All poll workers should arrive at the polling locations at 5 a.m. We ask that you do not park close to the building. We've had problems with the poll workers parking close, and then handicap or people it's hard to access the polling locations. If you are unloading your car for whatever reason, unload it, and then we ask for you to move it for the day. Please dress in layers. Once you report to the polling location, you are there at the polls all day long. You will not be able to go outside and smoke. I didn't say that last night. Once you're in there, you're in there. You don't get to go outside. Bring snacks, lunch, drinks, medicine, or anything. People can bring you lunch or bring you a drink to the polling location. They can bring it inside and hand it to you, but they cannot sit down and eat lunch with you or, share that cup of coffee. But you can have food delivered by DoorDash or your neighbor, whoever you can con into bringing you something if they will. So that is allowed. Inspectors will administer the oath inside the blue oath book that's inside their little folder here, in here. And if you are the Democratic judge, you have to administer the oath to the inspector. I've had people tell me that doesn't happen, so if you're a Democratic judge and the inspector refuses for you to oath them in, please contact the office that day so we can take that in, because everybody has to be sworn in under law and sign the oath book. So we just want to make sure that happens. Follow the DS200 guide for startup instructions. Clerks and judges will remove the poll pad from the cases and assemble the poll pads and make sure that it says 0 check-ins. Take the ballots out of the DS200 and place the ballot bag back into the DS200 to catch the voted ballots, and do not leave any extra ballots or anything inside of that bottom of the DS200. Some places will have their poll pads and their ballots at the same table. I know she's at Oregon 0-1, and you all kind of do everything right there, but they're very small, one precinct, so it's easy for them to do that. Somewhere like the Renaissance Academy, they have their poll pads out front, and then you go back and they have the tables labeled for what precinct to go to get the ballot, to pick up the ballots. So that's when I talk about a ballot table or poll pads. Each place is kind of a little bit different. Do you all do it at Utica 3? Just have one area? Okay. Yeah. So it just depends. The bigger locations, I try to have more workers so the ballots aren't sitting on top of each other. The ballots will need to be neatly organized and separated by precincts and party at the table. Announce the opening of the polls at 6 a.m. That's something the inspector usually does, or may ask somebody to yell out the door that the polls are open.
Can I say something real quick?
Yes.
On here, it says the setup of the AutoMark machine. And she mentioned it before, but I do want to impress the importance on getting that set up before we open the polls and have it ready. Because sometimes it can take a little while to boot up. And if you have someone who needs it that comes in, then they have to wait for you to open it and get it set up. And then you don't know 100% if it's going to have an issue. That way, if you can open it up before the polls open, if there's an error message, if there's something, we know ahead of time. And that way we're not making an individual who's trying to vote sit around and wait for it to be fixed. So it's very important that is turned on and ready to go before the polls are open.
No, you're good. Thank you. Just helpful setup tips. Keep the polling location organized to make voting easy and quick. Check-in should be easily recognizable with the poll pads. Keep tripping hazards to a minimum, and I mean that's the power cords. Try not to be stringing them out from one way or to the other. I think most places do good. There's been some before, but those polling places have been changed where it was kind of hard to get the power to where they needed it. So arrange the table so that anything that needs electricity will be close to the outlets. If your location has one door for entry and one for exit, try to create a flow and check in receiving ballots, voting, and exit to reduce the foot traffic or the circle. Because only polling location I've ever worked at is Carr. It's kind of small, and it seemed like people would get stuck on trying to get out, and we had another door. So I kind of just stood there all day and was like, "Here's an empty booth. There's the door. Thanks. Have a good day." So I mean, it was you just was the traffic controller that day. The inspector should have an area in mind where they can pull aside a voter if any forms need to be completed. Sometimes the voters will need to complete some forms. We'll go over that in a minute. So the inspector just needs to have a little area, nothing extreme, but just somewhere somebody can go over there and fill out forms if needed. Next, we have voter ID requirements. The IDs must be a driver's license of the state of Indiana or an ID from the state of Indiana. It has to be issued from the state of Indiana or the U.S. passport or a military veteran ID. If they have a Kentucky license, they're not able to use that to vote. Now, it needs to have a photo on it, a name, expiration date, and obviously issued by Indiana. Now, on the expiration date, obviously if it's current, it's good. But also if it expired after the last general election, which is 11/5/2024. So if it expired on 11/7/2024, they can still use that license to vote. It's a long time, but it's still good. That's the law. And on the IDs, you're using those, or the clerks are using those to just identify that that's the voter. The address doesn't have to match, so they could have an Indiana ID or driver's license that says Scottsburg on it. But if they're registered on the poll pad here in Clark County, they're able to vote because we're only using that ID to verify that that's the voter, not their address. You will ask the voter on the clerk will, or the Republican judge could also. You will ask the voter if the address on the poll pad is correct. If the address does not match the ID or their address on the poll pad is incorrect. Okay, stop and check in and direct them to the inspector. That just means if they've changed, because we have a lot of people that just haven't changed their address or that changed their address. You'll learn, they'll tell you whether they live there, because we're already getting phone calls in the office of, I don't live there anymore. Well, that's where you're registered at, so that's what precinct you'll be voting in this time. So when you go there, change your registration, or you can go to Indiana Voters and they can change it now. Important that we do not turn a voter away from the polling locations due to a lack of ID. Stop the check-in and direct them to the inspector, and the inspector will contact the voter registration office because that voter will more than likely do a provisional ballot. That way, We can tell them what precinct that they would pull that ballot on, that voter would vote it, and have so many days to bring their ID into the voter registration office to verify that that was them and their ballot be counted. But just because they forgot their ID that day doesn't mean they can't vote. Checking in voters. Obviously, you ask the voter for their ID. If they do not want their ID scanned, you'll click manual search on the poll pad, and it's right there on the same screen. You've got scan ID and manual entry. And if they would like manual entry, you type in the first 3 letters of their last name and the first 3 letters of their first name and press search. So I stress this part because this is a lot of our phone calls. If you type in the whole name, I don't know, the system likes 3 letters and 3 letters. But sometimes when you type in the whole name, it doesn't like it. So when you call the office, I'll go, what's their name? Type in SMI for Smith and Lisa, so we'll do LIS. Oh, there they are. I don't know. That's just what we've been told, so I try to stress. 3 and 3. Have you had that?
I am.
Okay, but yeah. So that's just something I stress that. And if it don't work, you can call the office, obviously, and we'll see where they're at and where they're registered. Once again, about the address changed. If they've changed their address, they'll have to do a 412 before they can vote. But if they step out of line, they fill out that form, the inspector will take them back to the front of the line. So they don't have to stand back in the end of the line if there's a line, because they've already stayed there. They're just filling out their form so they can vote. The clerks, we have stressed, and if you're a Republican judge and you're working a poll pad, since it is a primary, you will turn the poll pad towards the voter when they reach the party selection screen and ask the voters to select their party and then press accept, and then they sign the poll pad. We do not choose the party for the voter. The voter has to choose it on the poll pad themselves. I've had people start to choose it for them, and then it gets into, I didn't tell them that, I told them this. Because once they make that party choice, they cannot get another ballot. There's no way to change it. They're stuck with that ballot. If they get it up there to check in, and they're like, well, I don't know what I want to vote, you can easily start over, and they can go look at a sample ballot and then come back in line and check on what ballot that they would like to choose.
Angela,
Yes.
go back to this address thing. If the voter comes in and says, that's not my address, the one that's in the poll pad,
Yes.
and then fills out a form, what if that form, they fill out an address that puts them in a different precinct?
That's fine. They're able to vote in that precinct this time.
Okay.
And then that form comes back to our office, and when registration opens back up, we process it to get them moved to their new precinct for the November election.
Okay.
Yes.
Then you gotta deal with coming back in November, saying that's what they voted at before.
You're right. Once the check-in process is complete, if the ballots are at a separate table, give the voter the printed receipt, and they'll go to the ballot table to get their ballot from whatever precinct and what party. There's receipts that print off of the poll pad. They're just little white receipts, like yay big. Each poll pad has a baggie inside of it. They do not have to be separated as long as that receipt gets put in a baggie and that baggie makes it back to the clerk's office. It doesn't have to be sorted in order. Just throw them in the bag, in the little bag. It's just a 1 gallon plastic bag. Promise, it's nothing special. These will be returned with the election materials at the end of the day. Ballot care and organization. And like I've said, and I'll just keep on saying it, some locations have a separate table for poll pads and ballots. And we just can't stress enough to make sure the ballots stay organized, that they stay by precincts and parties so everybody gets the right ballot. This election, there's a lot of ballots for it to be a midterm. We don't have any splits, but you could be in, and I'm not sure off the top of my head, but say Chaz 4 may be voting for House 71 and Chaz 6 may vote for House 66 or something. I'm not sure how the splits go, but we just want to make sure that that person is voting for the right area that they're supposed to be. So I can't stress enough about the ballots being organized. On the back, they'll initial the back of the ballots using a red and ink pen. Both parties need to initial the ballot, so one Republican and one Democrat. It doesn't matter if you're a clerk or a judge. If you're at the ballot table, that's what you'll be in charge of. And we ask that you do not initial an entire pack of ballots at once. They come in packs of 100. Once they're signed or they're initialed per se, they are on a live ballot. So it's like he said last night, it's a whole different process to those ballots being destroyed, or if they get in the wrong hands, they can be used because it is a live ballot. Now I understand some places are busier than others, and if you have to have a few, that's fine. Just don't. I've went into polling locations and there's hundreds of ballots all opened up and just spread all over. But they was initialing, they was getting it done, getting it out of the way. I don't know what rush they was waiting on, but they come back with about that set of live ballots that year, and I've tried to stress ever since then that do not open them up and just start initialing them, please. Once the voter has been given the correct and initial ballot, place the receipt in the poll pad baggie. So here's the receipts on what they look like for the poll pad. I've got an example for a Republican and for a Democrat on here. So as you can see on this one, has the name Jeff Forty, and Republican is what we're going to be looking for. So this person should receive a Jeffersonville 40 Republican ballot. On this one, you see the name, Chaz 3 and Democrat. This person will receive a Chaz 3 Democrat ballot. On that Chaz 3, you can see where it says Split City B. We do not pay attention to that in this election. So we're just paying attention to the actual precinct, full name, and the party. So don't let that get confusing when you get out there to the polling location, because you won't find anything on there for the Split City B. That's a municipal thing for the splits. Next is a sample of the ballots. So this is the Jeff 40 Republican, and this is the Chaz 3 Democrat. These are the true samples. Each ballot this time is only the front. We do not have anything on the back of the ballot except for the initials, but there's nothing to be voted on the back of the ballot. So just to double check, when you are initialing the back of, go back. Okay, next. I'm getting ahead of myself. On the back of the ballots, you will initial on there, and if you notice down here, it even tells you Jeff 40. Unfortunately, it does not tell you the party, but at least it gives you another spot to look for the precinct number to make sure it's the right precinct. Yes.
Something else to notice is the stripe on the top.
Oh, yes.
You got the blue stripe for the Democrat and the red stripe for the Republican ballot.
Thank you. All right, on to voter forms. All right, these are the forms I was talking about earlier. There's different types of forms that people may need to be filled out. They do come in the inspector binder, so you will have to get with the inspector to get those binders, or they may put the binder on the table and let you get them, and that's fine. It's labeled in that binder. But a pre-3, that is if a voter needs assistance, whether they need assistance by the poll workers, or if they brought someone that's going to assist them in marking and reading their ballot. That will be needed to be completed. The pre-5 is if someone shows up saying that, and it says on the poll pad that they requested an absentee ballot, but they're wishing to vote in person because they didn't receive their absentee ballot on time, or they might tell you their dog ate it and they changed their mind or whatever. They'll just need to do a pre-5, and then they will be issued a ballot and be able to vote. A VRG 7 or 11, they're the same type of form. They're for voter registration. If somebody comes in and knows they're not registered, which is very rare, and just wants to register, we have voter registration papers in there for them to be able to do that. Or if they have a kid that's getting ready to turn 18 or so and they want a paper form, you can give them that and they can take it and get it back to the office, or they can complete it there and give it back to us if their kid's with them or whatnot. The VRG 412, that's the one that on the poll pad, it'll prompt them that if the person has a change of addresses, they will have to complete that before voting, and that's in the inspector binder. And then also in there is a precinct incident accident report, if there's an accident at the polling location. Next, we'll talk about provisional ballots. If the inspectors are the ones that really mess with the provisional ballots, but they must call, or you must call the office before issuing a provisional ballot. It's non-negotiable. It's not an option. Once the inspector in our office has exhausted all the resources and guides, then we will give the approval to the inspector to fill out a provisional ballot with the voter. Approval for one provisional ballot does not mean approval for all provisionals, because it's really bad when we send 5 out to each location, 5 for each precinct, and I've approved one. I have notes of it, know who it should be, and I get a call and says, "Oh, we're out of provisionals." You are. Who gave you permission to use the rest of those provisionals? Well, you said I could use it for that one, so I just went ahead and used it for this one and this one and this one. And I'm like, well, then you're in trouble, because the voter's sitting there and it's going to take however long for me to get somebody, or not even somebody, a bipartisan team to take the ballots out to you. So that's why we say you must call on every provisional ballot. There's rhyme and reason to every provisional. That's what we're there for in the office, is to go over what that's there and to approve them, and we make notes. And so we kind of have a good idea, unless somebody surprises us, on how many provisionals we have coming back to us. How to fill out the provisionals has always been an issue. I have tried to make it the easiest I can in the 7 years I've been here. It's highlighted. So let's see. Orange is to be filled out by the inspector or judge, and the yellow is the voter. They have to be filled out completely. Name, address, date of birth, whatever it says on there has to be completed, or it will be rejected by the county election board. So I've got them back, haven't even had a name on it, so I don't even know whose ballot it is. You can't even verify what it is or if it should be voted. So it has to be completed. Now this box at the bottom here is for the county election board, so that's why it's not highlighted. Like I said, and then there's separate envelopes. We'll go over those in a moment on where those goes once they are voted. We don't like to use the provisionals, but sometimes they have to come out of the bag.
Can you give me an example? Because I've never heard of it.
If they don't have a driver's license to vote in person that day, they'll vote by provisional, and that's what all these are. And they're each in an individual folder like that, and so they'll vote it. They get a letter that's inside of it, tells them how long they have before they have to come back to the office to show their ID. They can't come 2 months later, because when I first started, somebody showed up in December, and I was like, "What are you here for?" "Oh, I have to show my ID so my vote will be counted." And I'm thinking, I wasn't even here for the election, but that's been done like a long time ago. But he was a little delayed, a little far behind. But they're able to come down with their ID in a certain amount of days, show it, and then it will be voted. Some provisionals are used if, say, I vote at Charlestown High School. I go to the 4-H, or I won't even say that, I go to Jeff High. And I go in Jeff High and I go, "I want to vote here." Well, this isn't your precinct. We're precinct voting. You'll have to go to Charlestown High School. And sometimes the inspectors can't get the people to leave, so we negotiate. And we deal with it as needed. That's why they have to call. Because a lot of people just want to cast the ballot, and we tell them it's probably not going to be counted unless they can prove that they're supposed to be there. But they have that feeling, they voted that ballot, and they're happy, they go on their way. And then I have a provisional. But,
So the ballot goes inside the envelope?
and it's
Got it.
sealed.
Okay.
And then, yeah,
I got it.
yeah.
And then
No,
the,
you're good.
We have
It won't go
the
on the
election
machine.
board has a meeting shortly
And they
after
go
the
through
election.
all of them.
And we
That's
go
the
through-
deciding factor. I mean, they do what they do, but I'm like, usually if you're just randomly at a polling location, you're not. But good luck. If you can prove it, well, I'll try it. Okay, so let's see. The green envelope is the first one. It's the pre-15. Inside this will be any of the forms for the pre-3 for an assistant, for the request in person, an inspector's affidavit, which is something that they get in their thing and they fill out, just them as the inspector, so that's not something for the judge. We do ask when the Democrat judge or the inspector is filling them out to put how many's in here. If you forget, it's okay. Everybody forgets my little boxes, but it's okay. We try. If we have a no, it does better. The pre-12. This is the envelope that the oath book, your expense sheet, which the expense sheet is AKA payroll. I'll put that on there. How we get paid. So we ask that this was filled out neatly with the correct information of your address, please. Do not put some random apartment number if it's not your apartment. And a phone number in case we can't read it by chance, but you wrote as neat as you could. It goes in here. The 412s will go in here and any registrations. If there's anything else random that somebody hands you and it's not on one of these, it goes in this. Because this is the first thing I open the next day after the election because I'm trying to get the payroll finished or wrapped up so everybody gets paid in a timely fashion because it still takes a while, but I start on it, I promise. It's just a matter of the timing of the council meeting. That's the next one is the pink envelope. This is where spoiled ballots go. Say I was voting for, we'll say clerk because he's here and I know it won't be weird. And there's two people running as clerk and for some reason I marked both of them. Well, you can only vote for one. So when you go up to the machine that goes in there, it tells you overvoted. Well, they allow you to take that rejects it, it spits it back out, and you're able to get a new ballot. The old ballot, what we call a spoiled ballot, will go in here. We keep track of these because we know how many ballots go through the machines, and we need to know how many ballots get rejected or spoiled. So we count these to match up with what we have left over.
Angel, I got a question about spoiled ballots. And maybe this is random, maybe it's happened and you can speak from experience. But someone asks for a Democratic ballot and they go to vote and they see that John Doe, who they were there to vote for, is not on that ballot. Oh, I should have had a Republican ballot because he's there.
Too late.
Too late.
Because they've already,
I just wanted to make
they
sure
made their
that
choice on the poll pad. That's what I said. If they get up there and they feel like, oh, I don't know, you can say, we can, clear it out. We can start over and you can go over there and look at the sample ballots. Because it happens. It happens at the down at the courthouse. It happened yesterday. A guy turned around. He was like, I picked this ballot, but it don't have such and such on it. No, what was you thinking? But it was like, no. And he was like, well, okay, that's the ballot I wanted, but this isn't the people on here. So I don't know what.
so they're just out of luck and just,
Yeah,
okay.
The law doesn't
unfortunately.
allow us to change it.
Yeah, unfortunately.
The law doesn't allow us to change it. Once they've gone past that screen and it's been printed.
It's kind of stuck in there because we can't go back and fix it, and that's your voting record, per se, yeah.
So, we had another one where, something they got mad and just threw it down on the table, they weren't gonna vote for anybody.
You can put it in the spoiled.
Go to the spoiled ballot.
Yes. Yeah, because I've heard that one too. You never know what you're going to find out or hear. And as both any type of judge, this hot pink piece of paper has all the passwords on it. So if the inspector's running around going, I don't know what the password is, just help them find the hot piece of paper in their little folder. Because trust me, I get lots of calls about 5:30. I don't have any passwords. Do you have a hot pink piece of paper in your document book? Oh no, I haven't opened it. So please help. I printed out on the brightest paper I got. Back to folders. This is where you would put, if somebody did vote the provisional ballot, that's from inside of here, which I can't get one out because they're sealed up, sorry. Once that ballot is voted and sealed up and all completed, it goes in here. And so they will all go in here from no matter what precinct at that location they're at. They only get one of these envelopes and they'll stick them in here. And then this is sealed at the end of the night, and say if there's 3, they'll put 3 in the little corner here and seal them up and then reseal whatever ones they opened.
And they're seal stickers, right?
Yes. Mm-hmm. The envelopes seal themselves. They have a peel and stick on them, so you won't use a seal, but these are all sealed. So if you don't open these, which that's what we hope for, but we'll see what happens. You don't have to reseal these. They're sealed by the absentee board and they're good. We know they've not been opened, they've not been used. And they just all come back to the courthouse. At the end of the night. Okay, oh, there you go. I got a few pages behind, I jumped ahead. Okay, so that's the white envelope is the non-voted precincts. And when they, let's see. Oh no. I had the new absentee board do this, but when you open these, there's a piece of paper in here that says red and blue, but you can't see it through the envelope like I thought. So you just have to open both of them. That defeats my purpose, but know that for next time. They didn't think about that, but they are labeled. There's papers in there that say Republican or Democrat. And then we go back to the close of polls. We're going to loudly announce the closing of the polls at 6 p.m. If there are voters in line at 6, assign a clerk or a judge, so it could be you, to go out at the end of that line. And if those people are there at 6 o'clock, they have a right to vote. If there's 15 minutes worth of people in line, you have to stand in that line. But if anybody comes up after that time, they will not be able to vote. And that's why we stick somebody at the end of the line so nobody can say, well, I was here. Well, no, this is our worker. This is the end of the line, and you were told that. So that's how that will happen. I don't know that very many places have lines at 6 p.m., but you just never know how busy the polling locations are. Inspectors and Democratic judges organize all the paperwork and forms that were used during the day. That's what all these little magical envelopes are for. You'll follow the close of the polls in the steps in the DS200 guide that's in the black binder from the inspectors. Removing the memory stick when you're told to, it prompts you on the screen of the DS200, and it walks you step by step. If you follow that guide, you will not have any issues. Because guess what? You call the office, we're going to pull the guide out and go step by step, because I do not know it by heart. The mechanics might, but I do not.
So do inspectors do that or judges?
The inspector and the Democrat judge.
Both?
Yes,
Okay.
together. They'll print the results tapes following the DS200 guide. They'll sign the tape, both the inspector and the Democrat judge, and place it in the memory stick in this magical black pouch. Then secure it with a green tag. And they'll remove the ballot bag with the voted ballots from the DS200, making sure none are left in the machine, and secure the bag with the red bag seal. Clerks and judges return the signage into the signage kit, report check-in totals on the poll pads to inspectors, because whatever's added up on the poll pads should equal what's on your DS200. So that we know everybody got checked in, that got a ballot, and they all went to the machines. Like the one you said where the guy gave you the ballot back, we always ask you to just make a note of voter refused in spoiled ballot, and then we can have the numbers equal out. And also back to the spoiled ballots, he reminded me that person at least threw it down. Try not to let them rip it into many pieces, but sometimes I understand if it's hard, but we've got some of them that have been confetti when they come back. So just spoiled with a red ink pen is sufficient. We don't need to rip them up in many pieces. After the inspector and the Democratic judge remove the ballot bag from the DS200 and it is completely emptied, all the unvoted ballots will go back into the bottom of that DS200. So they're not dragging them back to the courthouse that evening with them. They're just bringing back the voted ballots in the black bag with a security tag on it. All poll workers should help to clean up the polling locations before leaving. Workers will stay in the location until all duties are finished and the inspector has released the workers. I talked about the sign kits. We reuse a lot of the signs each year, so they look a little rough. We try to have them make it as best as they can. So we ask that when you remove the sign off the wall, if you'll just take the tape and lay it back flat onto the back so when you fold it up, it doesn't stick together. Because a lot of times everything sticks everything and we have to start all over. And like I said, we try to reuse as much as we can just to save money because we have some big signs that are red, white, and blue, and they're kind of costly to buy those. You wouldn't think that they would be that much, but they're kind of expensive. Returning materials and drop off. This is for the Democratic judges that will be with the inspectors. You will bring back the poll pads. If you do not bring back the poll pads, you will ask to go back to the voting location. So that in turns, usually trying to contact somebody to unlock the building so the poll pads can be picked up. So it could be a long night for you. But so the poll pads have to come back, the sealed ballot bag with the voted ballots, the clear bag that the inspector picks up, which will have the supply box, the signage kit, the document folder, this black pouch, and their binder that the inspector gets. Document folder, all paperwork filed in the corresponding envelopes. Sealed black pouch will have the memory stick, the DS200 tape, and say that it will print off 3 tapes for you. If you're the Democrat judge, you will see 3 tapes print off. If there's nobody from the Republican Party and nobody from the Democratic Party, you can just stick those 3 tapes in this pouch. Unless you get, I'm trying to think. I don't know where this. Unless you've been told by your party that there's somebody going to be at the courthouse, you can leave one of those tapes out. But one of those tapes is required to be in here. But I know some of the people are contacted and told that, you know, such and such from the party or this party or that party will be there to get the tapes, and that's fine. They don't. The other 2 do not have to be in there. Drop off will not be different. I didn't read that part very well. Drop off is always. We've changed it one time and it didn't work out the next time because the school had parent-teacher night, so we've decided that we just have to keep it at the back of the Sally Port. We tried to use the parking lot at Franklin School. Would have been great, but to move it back and forth is kind of confusing, so we've left it at the Sally Port at the back of Meg's and 7th Street. Yes, thank you.
Where is it?
Meg's and 7th Street is where the inspector and the Democrat judge will have to come back together. As a Democratic judge, you do not have to ride with the inspector back. You just have to travel together and arrive at the back of the Sally Port together. So whether you park over in the Franklin School, I've had some people meet at the library, which is a couple blocks away, but you should be able to park like out in front of the courthouse and just circle around in a block if you want to ride together there. But you don't have to ride together to the polling location because sometimes people are going separate ways. So you don't want to have to go back to your polling location if you're not near your house. Lastly, if you do not work at the location that you would normally vote at, please make sure you vote early at our early voting location that's at the courthouse. We have voting from 9 to 4 this week till Saturday, and next week, Monday through Saturday from 9 to 4. We are also open Monday before the election, but it's only 9 to noon. It's a very short day. So just make plans if you need to do that. Now, if you're working at your polling location, you can vote that day at your polling location. That's not a problem. The inspector's binder will have all of this information and more. Please use your resources, and there's the numbers for the county election board and for the office. And I see Chrissy's phone number on there. Oh, that's her. I got confused. Okay, never mind. Those are all good. Let's see. Any questions over that yet first? Yeah. You good?
I
Okay.
got one.
Yes.
Did we used to allow student IDs?
No.
We never did?
We did. Yes. We used to. Yes. They changed it this year.
Okay.
Yes. Sorry. Yeah, but they did. Alright. And you got this book here. It's just a handy book to have. It has a lot of information. The state of Indiana puts it out. So if you have any thing you want to read up on, there's a nice contents and you can kind of look. That's just for your information. Next we'll go over the checklist. I'll kind of go over it a little fast because I've talked about pretty much everything on here, but this is a checklist. If you're like me, you like to check things off. Like, oh, yep, got that done. What's next? Okay, we're gonna get that done. But that's what we got here. So let's see. Blue is the Democratic judge, and If you're a Republican judge, you're gonna be the green, which is all the workers. So before Monday night, huh?
I said, oh man, there's that 5 a.m. again.
Yes. Yeah, it's a rough one. Before Monday night checklist and duties, Democratic judge will be contacted by the inspector, obviously before that, and you'll set up a time to set up on Monday night. If there's a problem, you're not able to make it Monday night as the judge, let the office know, let the inspector know. We can usually try to make some type of arrangement with another person from the opposite party to be there to help set that up. It's just a matter of how many and such like that. Let's see, Democratic judges on Monday night set up. On Monday night, when you get there, you'll need to check the ballots inside the DS200. We've talked about that to make sure you have all your precincts in both parties. You'll put the signs up. That'll just take off something for you to do Tuesday morning. Set the poll booths up, move all the machines to an area where there's an outlet. After setting up, there was once again, call Piper. If she does not answer, you can call or text, and that's my cell phone number. After receiving approval to leave, secure the polling location upon exiting. Election day, everybody's required to be there at 5 a.m. Yeah. Hey, just think, our office, we get there at like 4 or 4:30, so we're prepared for the 5 a.m. phone calls. Does that make you feel a little better? A little better. Democratic judge will administer the oaths that we've talked about before to the inspector. The inspector will do the other oaths. Once again, removing the ballots from the DS200 that you checked on Monday night. Get those to the ballot table, plug in the auto mark, start up the DS200. And when he talks about the auto mark being on a delay, Piper usually turns ours on at 8:30 in the morning. That's at the early voting location. And we just hope that it turns on by 8:45 for the 9 o'clock vote. So it is a very delayed start sometimes. So just warning you. But it'll cycle up. It's just a little slow. So that's why we say might be real close to the top to turn that on. Judges assist the clerks with the poll pads if they need set up or anything like that. All the workers will organize the ballot table if there is one for the parties in the precincts. The judge, Democratic judge, we'd like for either them or the inspector to see how many people are waiting in line at 6 a.m., if there's anybody waiting in line at 12:30 p.m., and if there's anybody at line at 6 p.m. That's inside this book, and it's in the middle, and there's just little lines. You don't need detail, and I mean, you can just kind of get a head count. It's not exact. The state actually collects that. I have to enter that in for each precinct or each polling location. The state is doing some type of study the past couple of years, so that's what that is for. It's not something that I use. Moving on, we ask all the workers, you'll greet the voters, welcome the voters. I've said in the past, make it feel like it's your home when they're coming in. Don't stay on your cell phone or keep talking. Like, the voters there to vote, get them in, and have them exit back out. And most of them are headed to work, on break, or headed home for the day. Work together to ensure that the poll booths are stocked with black pens throughout the day, and restock that as necessary. Most of the time, the judges are the ones that are more free about to move to make sure that happens. Check for political election campaigning information if that happens to land in a polling booth just after the voter is gone from the booth. Just remove it and discard of it. Don't try to overreach them or anything when they're voting. Just wait for them to leave and you'll get a chance. If somebody goes in there, just wait. You'll get it out there. Just make sure we get it out there. Because they'll leave papers, pencils, stickers, anything, if there's somebody electioneering at your polling location. It does say if you need more polling booths, you can call, but I have them all slated to go out to the polling locations. But we can try to see what we can do if you think you need more, just call the office and we'll see what we can do about getting dividers out there for tables or more tables and dividers. Let's see, assign a poll worker to stand, that's for the inspectors. So you may be asked to stand at the end of the line, like I said, at 6 p.m., which is fine, anybody can do that. And I would say it would be a Republican judge or a clerk so that the inspector and the Democrat judge could focus on wrapping things up, like their paperwork and stuff, so everybody gets out of there in a timely manner. Follow the steps to close the polls as a Democratic judge. Remove the black ballot, we went over that. Just make sure that this pouch is out. I know I've said it a lot, but I know Christy's usually digging them out of ballot bags or whatnot, but this has to be accessible, not locked up in something else. Print the result tapes. Follow the DS200 guide. We talked about the tapes, what to do with the unvoted ballots. We ask that everybody stays to clean up, because if everybody stays and cleans up, then everybody gets to leave earlier. If you leave it to 2 people, then it could be a long night for them to be taking down the signs and stuff. Once again, as a Democratic judge, I just ask that you help the inspector remember to bring back the poll pads. Do not bring back the poll booths. That just causes us chaos out there on the side of the street, because they will come back. But poll pads are a must. Those have to come back. We just never know what they're just like, here we go, let's fit in the car. So you never know. Because the poll booths and the DS200 will stay there. So that, once again, you return the clear bag, black ballot bag with the voted ballots only, poll pads and the sealed pouch and the document folder. Yes, I will explain that I like these to be halfway neat. I don't care what order they're in, but if they're stacked nice and neat, I've actually received all the envelopes empty with all their paperwork literally shoved in the supply bag. That was a nightmare. So more neat that is, the easier it is on us to get paperwork processed, and that includes the poll worker pay. If you are delayed past 6:30 for any reason, because you're still wrapping up at the call voter registration, that is just to give us an idea that you're still there and what we're looking at, because the county election board will be hounding us from the basement, and we're standing on the side of the street, and they'll be like, we're looking for this one and this one and this one. Okay, we are too. So we just kind of like to have an idea, make contact. I know sometimes we've lost contact with somebody and we got worried, and we started to head back towards their location just to make sure that nothing happened. But everybody was fine. It was just a little behind on time, and they didn't call us, so it was okay though. Material placement and drop off, obviously we talked about that. It's at the back of the Judicial Center, and the inspector will know, because that's where they'll pick up their items if they pick them up on Saturday. So once again, here's the phone numbers for the county election board and our office. So if you have any questions before, after, during the election, you can call those numbers. Our phone lines do stay pretty busy, so please bear with us as they answer the phone. We will have 3 people in the office answering the phones. We will get to you, or keep calling, and it'll eventually get answered if they're all on the phone. So, any questions? Anything you need to say?
Yeah, last thing. So this year was the first year that we were able to get the training pay for everyone that showed up for training. But the way that we have to track that is like when you checked in at the counter, you will have to check out as you're leaving. So make sure you tell them your name again, and so that they can check you out to show the time you got here and the time you left, so we can get everybody that was here paid for their training. So other than that, if there are no more questions, you guys are free to go. And again, we appreciate you being part of the process.
Thank you. And I'm glad your ballot came.
Yeah.